The sky turned purple over New Seoul on a Tuesday morning. Not the soft purple of dawn, but a harsh electric shade that made eyes hurt. Commander Tae looked up from the military base yard and knew that today was the day they had feared for generations. "They're here," he said into his comm device. His voice was calm, though his heart beat fast in his chest. Across the world, the same purple light filled the sky. Giant ships, shaped like perfect crystals, moved into position over every major city on Earth. They made no sound. They just waited, hanging in the air like frozen threats. Commander Tae rushed to the control room where screens showed similar ships over Mars Colony and the Europa Research Station. 50 years of human expansion into space, and now this. "What do we know?" he asked as he entered the room filled with worried faces. Admiral Han, a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing, pointed to the main screen. 12 major ships over Earth, 3 over Mars, 1 at Europa. They appeared simultaneously about 10 minutes ago. "Any communication?" "Nothing yet," Admiral Han said, "but our systems are picking up unusual energy readings. They might be scanning us." Dr. Jin entered the room carrying a tablet. She was the best xenobiologist on Earth, someone who had spent her life studying the possibility of alien life. Now, that possibility was floating above them. "We need to prepare for contact," she said. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so already. As if hearing her words, every screen, device, and communication system on Earth suddenly showed the same message. The words appeared in perfect local languages, as if the aliens had been studying humans for years. The message was simple: submit, or be eliminated. You have 30 Earth days to decide. 2 hours later, Commander Tae sat in an emergency meeting with world leaders who joined by hologram. Faces showed fear, anger, and confusion. "We have confirmed reports that we are not the only targets," said Director Park, head of Earth's intelligence agency. "Our deep space monitoring stations picked up signals from at least 6 other inhabited systems in our sector. All received the same message." "Do we know who they are?" asked the President of the United Earth Government. Dr. Jin stepped forward. "They call themselves the Vex. We've intercepted communications between their ships. They appear to be a highly organized species with advanced technology far beyond ours. Can we fight them?" someone asked. Admiral Han's face remained expressionless. Based on initial scans, each of their ships carries enough firepower to level a continent. Our entire planetary defense system wouldn't scratch their smallest vessel. The room fell silent. "What about the other civilizations?" Commander Tae asked. "How did they respond?" Director Park tapped on his tablet. "That's the most troubling news. From what we can gather, every contacted civilization has already surrendered. The Vex have done this before many times. One intercepted message described them as unstoppable and merciless." Dr. Jin added, "Their communication patterns suggest this is routine for them. They arrive, demand submission, and then establish control. The message is efficiently designed to cause maximum fear with minimum effort." "So we surrender too?" The question hung in the air. Commander Tae stood up. "We need more information before making any decision. We have 30 days. 3 days passed. The Vex ships remained in position, silent and waiting. Earth's military forces were on high alert, though everyone knew it would make little difference if the aliens attacked. "Commander." Tae sat in his office reviewing reports when Admiral Han entered without knocking. "We found something," she said, placing a data chip on his desk. "Our long-range scouts detected unusual activity on Pluto. The images showed structures on Pluto's surface that hadn't been there a week ago. Geometric buildings and what looked like mining equipment. They've already started setting up bases in our system," Commander Tae said. "They expected us to surrender immediately." "There's more," Admiral Han said. "We've made contact with a being who escaped from a Vex-controlled world. They're willing to share information." The alien sat across from Commander Tae in a secure room deep underground. It had 4 arms and skin that looked like blue pebbles. Its translator converted its clicks and whistles into human language. "My people surrendered 3 cycles ago," it said. "We thought it was the only way to survive. We were wrong." "What happens after surrender?" Dr. Jin asked gently. They install governors in major cities. They take our resources. They select some of us for labor and research. The rest are allowed to live normal lives as long as we follow their rules. And if we don't surrender? Commander Tay asked. The alien's eyes blinked sadly. No one has ever refused. It is unknown. 1 week after first contact, the United Earth government called another emergency meeting. Representatives argued for hours about what to do. We've received reports from multiple sources now, Director Park said. Every planet that surrendered has become a resource colony for the Vex. They take what they want and leave just enough for the native population to survive. But they don't destroy the populations, one leader pointed out. If we surrender, at least our people will live. Dr. Jin stood up. I've been studying the Vex communications we've intercepted. They have conquered hundreds of worlds, maybe thousands. But there's something interesting. They don't expect resistance. Submission is so routine that they don't even prepare for alternatives. What are you suggesting? Asked the president. The Vex consider surrender to be a sign of genetic weakness. Their entire empire is built on the assumption that intelligent life will always choose survival over freedom. Commander Tay looked at Admiral Han, who gave a small nod. There's something else you should know, Commander Tay said. Admiral Han has been working on a project. While the government has been debating, she's been preparing. Admiral Han stepped forward. For the past week, I've been quietly mobilizing our forces, not to attack, that would be suicide, but to prepare for a different kind of resistance. She displayed a hologram showing Earth's military assets being moved to hidden locations around the planet and throughout the solar system. The Vex expect either immediate surrender or a direct confrontation they can easily win. They've never faced a species willing to fight a long, drawn-out war of resistance. The room erupted in arguments. Some called it suicide. Others said it was humanity's only chance to remain free. As the debate raged, Commander Tay received an urgent message on his personal device. It was from a small research team on Mars. They had discovered something in an ancient cave. Drawings that showed the same crystal ships from thousands of years ago. Humans had seen the Vex before, in prehistoric times, and somehow they had survived that encounter. Commander Tay looked up at the arguing leaders and felt something he hadn't felt since the ships appeared. Hope. The choice before us isn't just about survival, he said, and the room quieted to listen. It's about what makes us human. Throughout our history, we have always valued freedom. We have always fought against those who would take it from us, no matter the cost. He showed them the images from Mars. We've faced them before and we're still here. Maybe that's why they're giving us time to consider. Maybe they know humans are different. The president looked around the room, then stood. We will take a vote in 3 days. Until then, Admiral Han has my permission to continue preparations. As the meeting ended, Commander Tay walked with Dr. Jin and Admiral Han to the underground command center. Do you really think we can win? Dr. Jin asked. Commander Tay looked at the screens showing the Vex ships. I don't know, but I know we can fight. And sometimes that's enough to change everything. Above them, the purple sky waited for humanity's answer. Sue stood at the window of her small apartment, looking up at the purple sky where the Vex ships hung like silent judges. It had been 15 days since they arrived. 15 days of waiting, wondering, and fearing. Her hands shook as she checked her comm device again. Still no word from her parents who worked at the moon mining colony. All communications with off-world settlements had stopped 3 days ago. They're not dead, she told herself. Just cut off. Sue was not a soldier or a politician. She was an engineer who designed environmental systems for space habitats. But now, as she packed a small bag with essential items, she was about to join the resistance. A soft knock at her door made her freeze. She opened it slowly to find Captain Kim standing. There in plain clothes, not his military uniform. His face was grim. Are you ready? He asked. Sue nodded. Did you get access to the files? Captain Kim held up a small data chip. Everything your parents were working on before communication stopped. Director Park pulled some strings to get it. They left the apartment quietly and headed for an unmarked vehicle. As they drove through the half-empty streets of New Seoul, Captain Kim explained their mission. "Your parents weren't just mining engineers," he said. "They were working on a new type of stealth technology, something that might hide us from Vex. Sensors." Sue looked at him in surprise. "My parents never said anything about that." "It was top secret. But now it might be our best hope." Across the solar system, one by one, the representatives of other worlds were making their decisions. The Vex had established special communication channels to receive their answers. Director Park watched the secure feed in the underground command center as the leader of Proxima Centauri's colony officially surrendered. Their faces showed defeat, but also relief. The terrible waiting was over for them. "That's the fifth system to give in," said Commander Tay, who stood beside him. Director Park nodded. "Only Earth and Mars remain undecided in our sector." On another screen, they could see Vex ships landing on Proxima Centauri's main planet. The alien invaders moved with perfect order, setting up control spires in major cities. Their bodies were tall and thin, covered in what looked like natural armor. They moved with machine-like precision. "What happens when the 30 days are up?" Commander Tay asked. Director Park pulled up classified files on his tablet. "Based on what we've seen, in other systems, they'll establish complete control over our resources. Minerals, water, biological samples, everything will be cataloged and harvested. And the people? Most will be allowed to continue their lives under strict rules. Some will be taken for study or labor." Director Park's voice was flat, hiding his emotions. "It's not immediate death, it's slow extinction." Commander Tay was silent for a moment. "Then we can't surrender. The President will announce Earth's official decision tomorrow," Director Park said. "But I've been authorized to show you something first." The underground facility was so secret that even Commander Tay hadn't known it existed. Built beneath the old Sahara Desert, it stretched for miles under the sand. "We've been studying them for longer than you might think," Director Park said as they walked down a long hallway. They entered a massive chamber, and Commander Tay stopped in shock. In the center sat a damaged Vex ship, smaller than the ones currently in orbit but unmistakably the same design. "We recovered this 60 years ago," Director Park explained. "It was a scout ship that crashed in the Pacific Ocean. We've been reverse engineering its technology ever since." Scientists and engineers moved around the ship, working on various pieces of equipment that had been built based on Vex designs. "Why? Wasn't I informed of this?" Commander Tay asked. "Need-to-know basis. Until now, you didn't need to know." They approached a woman working at a control panel. Director Park introduced her as Dr. Min, the lead weapons developer. "We've made significant progress," Dr. Min said, not wasting time on pleasantries. "We understand how their propulsion works, and we've replicated some of their energy weapons on a small scale." "Enough to fight them?" Commander Tay asked. Dr. Min shook her head. "Not in a direct battle, but enough to hurt them if we're smart about it." Captain Kim and Sue arrived at a hidden research facility built into the side of a mountain. Inside, scientists and military personnel were working urgently on various projects. "This is what your parents were developing," Captain Kim said, leading Sue to a large device that looked like a satellite dish attached to a power generator. He inserted the data chip, and the screens filled with technical information. Sue studied it carefully, her engineering mind quickly grasping the principles. "It's a phase-shifting field," she said with growing excitement. "It doesn't just hide objects from sensors, it shifts them slightly out of normal space-time." "Can you make it work?" Captain Kim asked. Sue studied the designs more carefully. "My parents solved the power problem. That was the missing piece. Yes, I can make it work, but we'll need more materials." Captain Kim smiled for the first time since the Vex arrived. "That's where my team comes in." He led her to another room where 5 men and women in combat gear were checking weapons. They were all lean, tough, and focused. "This is Sue," Captain Kim told his Special Forces team. "She's going to build us something that will let us hit the Vex where it hurts." "And where's that?" asked one of the soldiers. "We're going off-world," Captain Kim said. "To a surrendered alien outpost. We need to know how the Vex control works, and the only way to learn that is to see it in action." Commander Tay returned to the main command center just as Admiral Han was receiving a transmission from Mars. The feed was encrypted and patchy, but the message came through. Mars colony stands with Earth. We will not surrender. A small cheer went up from the staff. For the first time, they weren't alone in their resistance. Admiral Han turned to Commander Tay. We've been watching the Vex ships. They're starting to reposition. I think they know what our answer will be. How much time do we have? Commander, Tay asked. After the official announcement, maybe hours before they strike. Then we need to be ready. What's the status of the evacuation? Admiral Han brought up a map showing major cities around the world. 60% complete. We're moving people to the designated shelter areas, but it's slow going. Many don't want to leave their homes. They don't understand what's coming, Commander Tay said. Keep working on it. We need as many people underground as possible when the Vex make their first move. The next day, as the sun rose over a nervous world, the President of the United Earth government stood before the cameras. Her face was solemn but determined as she delivered humanity's answer to the Vex. After careful consideration and consultation with all Earth nations and colonies, we have made our decision, she said. Humanity will not surrender its freedom. We reject the ultimatum of the Vex. We choose to stand, as we always have throughout our history, for our right to determine our own destiny. As she spoke, the Vex ships began to move. Their crystal forms rotated slowly, points aiming downward toward major cities. In the command center, Commander Tay watched the ship's movements on the monitors. And so it begins, he said quietly. Admiral Han nodded. The first attack ships have entered the atmosphere. They'll be over New Seoul in 20 minutes. Commander Tay tapped his comlink. Captain Kim, is your team in position? Yes, sir, came the reply. Sue has the prototype working. We're ready. Dr. Min, status of the defense systems. Online and powered up, Commander. Commander Tay looked at the screen showing Vex ships descending from the purple sky. Other races had surrendered to this threat. Humanity stood alone in its defiance. Let's show them what happens when you threaten Earth, he said. Outside, the Vex attack ships entered the lower atmosphere, ready to begin their standard subjugation protocol, unaware that for the first time in their long history of conquest, they were about to face a species that would rather die fighting than live on its knees. Colonel June crouched behind a fallen concrete wall and watched the sky. The Vex attack ships moved in perfect formation over what had been New Seoul's business district. Now it was empty. No people, no movement, just buildings waiting like silent traps. They're following the pattern exactly as predicted, he whispered into his comm device. Moving toward the city center. All teams hold position, came Commander Tay's voice. Wait for them to deploy the control spires. Colonel June signaled to his soldiers to stay down. They were spread throughout the empty city, hidden in buildings and underground passages. This was not how humans usually fought wars. There were no battle lines, no direct confrontations, just waiting and watching. The Vex ships, sleek, dart-shaped craft unlike the massive crystal vessels still hanging in orbit, began to slow. One by one, they descended to street level at major intersections. They're landing, Colonel June reported. On his tactical display, he could see similar reports coming in from cities around the world. The Vex were following the same protocol. Everywhere. Land, deploy, establish control. The bottom of each ship opened, and tall structures began to extend downward. The control spires looked like silver trees, with branches that spread out as they touched the ground. Spires deploying, Colonel June said. Ready on your mark. Wait, Commander Tay ordered. Let them commit fully. From the ships, Vex soldiers emerged. They moved with mechanical precision, setting up positions around each spire. Their armor gleamed in the sunlight, and their weapons, long, curved devices that seemed to be part of. Their arms swept the area looking for threats, but they found none. The city was a ghost town. Where are the humans? One of the Vex commanders asked in their clicking language, which Earth's translation systems could now understand. Scans show no significant life signs, another replied. They must have fled. Unusual. The subjugation protocol requires visible force to establish dominance. We need subjects to witness the takeover. The Vex commander signaled to the ships. Expand the search perimeter. Find the population centers. That was what Colonel June had been waiting for. Now, Commander Tay's voice crackled over the comm. Colonel June pressed a button on his tactical pad. Throughout the city, hidden devices activated. The air seemed to shimmer, and suddenly every building, every street, every abandoned car disappeared from Vex sensors. What's happening? The Vex commander demanded as his scanner showed nothing but empty land where a city had been, moments before. Colonel June smiled grimly. Sue's phase-shifting technology was working. All teams, execute, he ordered. Across New Seoul, hidden soldiers emerged from their positions. They moved quickly, targeting the bases of the control spires with specially designed explosives, devices, created by Dr. Min using the reversed engineered Vex technology. The first explosion took the Vex completely by surprise. One moment their spire was establishing its control field. The next it was collapsing in flames. We are under attack, the Vex commander shouted. Defensive formations. But the Vex were trained for traditional warfare, for enemies who would confront them directly. They were not prepared for enemies they could not see who struck and then disappeared back into the phase-shifted city. Meanwhile, high above Earth, Pilot Hyun led her squadron toward the main Vex command ship. Her fighters were small and would barely register on Vex sensors, especially now that they were equipped with miniature versions of Sue's phase-shifting technology. Stardiver Squadron, maintain formation, she ordered. Remember the plan, we're not trying to destroy their ship. We just need to plant the disruptors and get out. Her 12 pilots acknowledged the order. They were the best Earth had, and they knew this might be a one-way mission. As they approached the massive crystal vessel, Hyun was struck again by its size. It was like a small moon, with facets that reflected sunlight in purple and blue flashes. No reaction from their defenses, her second-in-command reported. They don't see us. Proceed to target points, Hyun ordered. Plant your packages and retreat immediately. The squadron split up, each fighter approaching a different part of the Vex command ship. Hyun guided her craft toward what they believed was the main communication array, a spire-like structure protruding from one facet of the crystal. Hyun's hands were steady on the controls as she brought her fighter close enough to attach the disruptor device, Dr. Min's latest creation. It was designed to interfere with Vex communications by using their own technology against them. Package deployed, she reported as the magnetic clamp secured the device to the Vex ship. One by one, the other pilots reported similar success. 11 packages deployed. Then, I'm hit. They've spotted me. It was Lee, the youngest pilot in the squadron. His fighter was caught in some kind of energy beam. Abort final deployment, Hyun ordered. All craft, return to base immediately. But the last package, her second-in-command started. We got 11 out of 12, that's enough. Hyun adjusted her course. Lee, I'm coming to get you. No, Commander. Lee's voice was strained but determined. I'll use my ship. Complete the mission. Before Hyun could respond, Lee's damaged fighter accelerated straight toward the final target point on the Vex ship. The energy beam tried to hold it back, but the burning engines pushed forward. For Earth, Lee said. And then his fighter crashed into the Vex ship, the impact detonating both his craft and the disruptor package he was carrying. Hyun blinked back tears as she led the remaining squadron away from the Vex ship, which was now showing signs of distress as the disruptors activated. All stations, she reported. Operation Stardiver complete. 11 packages deployed successfully. The 12th was delivered with extreme prejudice. In the command center, Commander Tay watched the feeds from around the world. The same scene was playing out in every major city. Vex forces confused and disorganized, unable to establish their control spires, unable to find the human populations they'd come to subjugate. Dr. Min's disruptors are working, Admiral Han reported. Vex communications are breaking down. They can't coordinate their attacks. On the main screen, They could see Vex ships colliding with each other as their navigation systems failed. Others were retreating back to the safety of their command vessels. And Colonel June's ground forces? Commander Tay asked. Successful strikes in every target city. Minimal casualties on our side. For the first time in weeks, Commander Tay allowed himself a small smile. Send the signal to all resistance cells. Phase 2 begins now. Admiral Han nodded and transmitted the coded message to resistance forces worldwide. What do you think the Vex will do next? Commander Tay's smile faded. They'll adapt. This is just the first round. But at least now they know. Humans don't surrender easily. In orbit, the Vex Supreme Commander faced something it had never experienced before. Failure. The subjugation protocol, which had worked on 100 different worlds, was falling apart on Earth. How is this possible? It demanded of its subordinates. They are a primitive species with limited technology. They are using our own systems against us, a science officer reported. The disruption matches our communication frequencies exactly. And these phase shifts, how are they hiding entire cities? Unknown. It appears to be a new technology. The Supreme Commander made a decision. Recall all attack ships. We must regroup and analyze their methods. Recall? We have never retreated before. This is not retreat, the Supreme Commander said. This is strategic reassessment. Send a message to the homeworld. Tell them we have encountered resistance. As the Vex attack ships pulled back from Earth's atmosphere, a message was intercepted by Earth's intelligence systems. It was a call for reinforcements, an admission that this was not going to be a standard conquest. Humans had done what no other species had managed. They had forced the Vex to change their plans. The real war was just beginning. Ambassador Yoon checked her small ship's cloaking systems one more time. The device that Sue had built for her was working perfectly, hiding her from Vex patrols. Still, flying directly into Centauri space, territory now controlled by the Vex, was the most dangerous mission she had ever undertaken. Approaching Centauri Prime, she told her small crew of 3. Maintain radio silence unless absolutely necessary. Her pilot nodded, guiding the ship toward the planet that had been the first to surrender to the Vex. Once a thriving world with advanced cities, it was now just another resource extraction point in the growing Vex Empire. Ambassador Yoon's mission was simple but vital. Contact the Centauri leaders and show them proof that resistance was possible. If humans could stand against the Vex, perhaps others could too. Landing zone ahead, the pilot said quietly. Sensors show minimal Vex presence in this region. They touched down in a forested area far from the main cities. Ambassador Yoon checked the small case containing her evidence, recordings of the successful defense of Earth, technical details of Sue's phase-shifting technology, and a message from the President of Earth. Remember, she told her team, we have 6 hours before the extraction. If we're not back by then, the ship leaves without us. They nodded, understanding the stakes. Being captured by the Vex would be worse than death. Back on Earth, Commander. Du stood in the combined Earth-Mars Defense Center, reviewing the latest reports. As leader of the Joint Defense Initiative, he had to coordinate forces across 2 planets. The Vex fleet has grown, he noted, pointing to the holographic display showing the space around Earth. 10 more command ships have arrived. Admiral Han nodded grimly. And our intelligence suggests more are coming. They're bringing in their actual war fleet now, not just the subjugation forces. Commander Du wasn't surprised. The Vex had never faced real resistance before. Now they were taking humans seriously, which was both good and bad news. What's the status of our orbital defenses? We've equipped all our stations with phase shifters, Admiral Han replied, and Dr. Min's team has deployed the new shield technology to Mars Colony. If the Vex attack again, they'll find both planets much harder targets than before. A young officer approached with a data pad. Sir, we've received a transmission from Engineer G. The quantum communication system is online. Commander Du smiled at this rare piece of good news. G had been working day and night to create a communication network that the Vex couldn't detect or intercept. Put him through, he ordered. Engineer G's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but pleased. Commander, the QCS is functional. We can now communicate with all resistance forces without risk of Vex detection. Well done, Commander. Tu said. Can you connect us to Ambassador Yoon's ship? She should be on Centauri Prime by now. G nodded. Already done. The connection is stable and completely invisible to Vex monitoring systems. Ambassador Yoon moved silently through the empty halls of what had once been the Centauri government center. Now Vex control devices covered the walls, monitoring everything. Her guide, a thin Centauri with pale blue skin, looked nervously in all directions as they walked. The council chambers are ahead, he whispered. Our leaders are waiting, but we must be quick. The Vex governor makes inspections every few hours. They entered a large room where 5 Centauri sat around a table. Their once elegant robes were now plain and dull, one of many Vex restrictions designed to break the spirit of conquered peoples. You are from Earth, said the eldest, not quite a question. The planet that refused to surrender. Ambassador Yoon nodded. I bring evidence that the Vex can be fought and defeated. Defeated? The word seemed foreign to the Centauri leaders. No one defeats the Vex. Ambassador Yoon placed her case on the table and opened it. A small projector activated, showing scenes from Earth's successful defense. The Centauri watched in silence as they saw Vex ships retreating, control spires destroyed, and humans celebrating their victory. This is real? One of them asked. Completely real, Ambassador Yoon confirmed. And there's more. We've developed technologies that can hide entire cities from Vex sensors and disrupt their communication networks. She showed them the technical details of Sue's phase-shifting device and Dr. Min's disruptors. The Centauri scientists among them leaned forward, their eyes wide with hope for the first time since the Vex had come. We're not asking you to rise up immediately, Ambassador Yoon explained. That would be too dangerous. But we are creating a network, an alliance of all species, who want freedom. When the time comes, we'll need your help. The eldest Centauri looked at his colleagues, then back at Ambassador Yoon. What would you have us do? For now, gather information. Sabotage Vex operations when you can do so safely. And most importantly, spread the word to other conquered worlds. Let them know that resistance is not only possible, it has already begun. On Earth, Engineer G worked tirelessly in his laboratory, surrounded by complex equipment. The quantum communication system was working, but he needed to make it better, more reliable. Try it now, he told his assistant, who was monitoring a device on the other side of the room. The assistant adjusted some controls, then nodded. Connection stable. Zero signal leakage. G allowed himself a small smile. Creating a communication network that was completely invisible to Vex detection had been one of the greatest challenges of his career. The Vex controlled the normal electromagnetic spectrum completely, monitoring all standard forms of communication. But quantum entanglement didn't use the electromagnetic spectrum at all. It relied on the strange behavior of paired particles that remained connected no matter how far apart they were. Change the state of one particle, and its partner would instantly change as well, allowing for communication that could not be intercepted. G's breakthrough had been finding a way to use this quantum property to transmit complex data, not just simple signals but images, voices, and technical information. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. It was from Commander Do G. We're receiving reports from Mars colony. The Vex are testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses. How soon? Can you extend the QCS to our other outposts? I've already sent devices to Europa and the lunar base, G replied. They should be online within hours, but there's more. Ambassador Yoon's mission was successful. The Centauri have agreed to join our alliance. Commander Do nodded, his face showing relief. Good work. And what about the new defense systems? Ready for deployment. Dr. Min's team has created smaller, more efficient disruptors, and Sue has improved the phase shifters to use less power. We'll need everything we've got, Commander Do said. Our deep space observatories have detected the Vex war fleet. They'll be here in 3 days. In her hidden workshop, Sue worked with a team of engineers to build more phase shifters. The original prototype had been successful, but now they needed hundreds of them to protect all of humanity's settlements. As she adjusted the circuitry on a new unit, a familiar voice made her look up. "We need to talk," Captain Kim said, entering the workshop with his Special Forces team. Sue could tell from his face that something was wrong. "What happened?" "We just got back from Proxima Centauri. The situation is worse than we thought. The way, Vex aren't just taking resources, they're taking people too. Thousands of them for some kind of experiments." Sue felt cold. "What kind of experiments?" "We don't know exactly, but from what we saw," Captain Kim's voice trailed off. Then he continued. "They're trying to understand why different species make different choices, why some surrender immediately and others, like us, choose to fight. They want to understand free will," Sue realized, "so they can eliminate it." Captain Kim nodded grimly. "The Vex don't just want our resources or our planets. They want to make sure no one ever resists them again." Sue turned back to her work with renewed determination. "Then we better make sure they don't win." In orbit around Earth, the Vex Supreme Commander received the reports from its scouts. The humans had somehow managed to extend their defenses to Mars and were continuing to develop new technologies. "They are more resourceful than expected," it admitted to its War Council. "But they are still just one species, alone against our might." A subordinate approached with a new report. "Supreme Commander, we have detected unusual activities on several conquered worlds. The Centauri, the Proxima Colony, and even the Tau Sigma settlement." "What kind of activities?" "Minor sabotage, communication disruptions, resource shipments going missing." The Supreme Commander's eyes narrowed. "The humans are inspiring others to resist." For the first time in its long existence, the Supreme Commander felt something like concern. One species they could crush, but if the resistance spread to all, their conquered territories. "Accelerate the Warfleet's arrival," it ordered. "We must crush the humans quickly before this contagion of defiance spreads further." Little did the Vex know it was already too late. Ambassador Yoon's mission had been just one of many. Across the stars, a message was spreading. "The humans have shown us the way. Freedom is possible. The time to fight back has come." General Day stood before the holographic display showing the entire solar system. Representatives from Earth, Mars, and now 7 formerly conquered alien worlds surrounded the table. This was the Combined Resistance Command, something that would have been impossible just weeks ago. "The Vex Warfleet will arrive in 12 hours, General Day said. His voice was calm despite the gravity of the situation. "They've brought more ships than we've ever seen them use before." An alien representative with 4 arms and scaled skin spoke up. "My people have been under Vex control for 20 years. I have never seen them commit so many resources to one conquest." "Because they've never been challenged before," General Day replied. "But now they face not just humans, but a growing alliance of species who have seen that resistance is possible." Scientist Wu, a small woman with intense eyes, stepped forward. She had been studying Vex psychology and social structures since the invasion began. "I've analyzed all the data we've gathered about Vex behavior," she said. "And I've discovered something important. They operate on a strict hierarchical structure that cannot adapt to decentralized resistance." She brought up new images on the display, diagrams of Vex command chains and decision-making processes. The Vex function almost like a hive mind, but not quite. Each individual has some autonomy, but all major decisions come from the top down. They've conquered so many worlds because their system is efficient, but only when things go according to plan. General Day nodded. "And our plan is to make sure nothing goes according to their plan." He touched the display, and it showed a new, strategic layout. "We will strike simultaneously across multiple systems. Each attack will be small, but the combined effect will force them to spread their forces too thin. Many of our worlds don't have military capabilities anymore," another alien representative pointed out. "The Vex removed our weapons long ago. You don't need advanced weapons to resist," General Day said. "Just determination and coordination." He turned to Engineer G. "Is the QCS ready for full deployment?" Engineer G nodded. Every resistance cell across all 8 worlds can now communicate without Vex detection. We've also equipped them with jammers that will disrupt Vex communication at the designated time. And the viral code? General Day asked. Captain Moon stepped forward. She was tall and confident, the leader chosen for perhaps the most dangerous mission of all. My team has completed testing, she said. The code will infect their command ships and disrupt their coordination. Once it's uploaded to their central system, they won't be able to give orders for at least 6 hours. 6 hours is all we need, General Day said. While their command structure is in chaos, each of our forces will target Vex control centers on every world. The representatives looked at each other, a mix of hope and fear on their various alien faces. This was the largest coordinated resistance the galaxy had ever seen, and it had all started because humans refused to surrender. Captain Moon's stealth ship approached the massive Vex command vessel that had just entered the solar system. Unlike the crystal ships that had first arrived at Earth, this was a true Vex flagship, a planet-sized structure of metal and energy that served as the mobile headquarters for their entire conquest operation. Stay in the shadow of their propulsion wake, she ordered her small crew. Their sensors can't detect us there. The ship carried only 6 people, 3 humans and 3 aliens from different worlds, all specially trained for this mission. They weren't trying to destroy the Vex command ship. Their goal was much more precise. They needed to reach the central communication hub and upload the viral code that would disrupt Vex coordination. 2 minutes to entry point, the pilot said. Captain Moon checked her equipment one last time. The most important item was a small data device containing the viral code developed by Earth's best programmers, working with knowledge provided by former Vex subjects. Remember, she told her team, our mission isn't just sabotage. We're also broadcasting the truth to all Vex, that their leadership has been lying about human inferiority. One of the alien crew members, a former administrator in a Vex-controlled world, nodded. Many Vex don't even know that resistance is possible. They're told that surrender is the natural response of all intelligent life. The ship attached itself to a maintenance port on the massive Vex vessel. Captain Moon took a deep breath. Let's go. On Earth, General Day watched as the Vex war fleet took up positions around the planet. There were hundreds of ships, more than enough to crush Earth's defenses in a conventional battle. But this would not be a conventional battle. Signal all resistance cells, he ordered. Operation Turning Point begins now. Across 8 worlds, carefully hidden resistance fighters emerged from their hiding places. On Earth and Mars, phase-shifted cities suddenly appeared behind Vex lines. On Centauri Prime and other conquered worlds, saboteurs disabled Vex control spires and communication relays. The Vex, for the first time in their history, faced not one enemy, but thousands of small coordinated attacks that their centralized command structure couldn't track or counter effectively. Sir, Captain Moon's team has reached the communication hub, reported Admiral Han. They're uploading the viral code now. General Day nodded. Everything depended on this part of the plan. If the code failed, the Vex would quickly regain control and crush the resistance. We're getting strange readings from the Vex command ships, said a technician. Their communication patterns are changing. On the main display, they could see Vex ships suddenly breaking formation, some drifting aimlessly, others making seemingly random course changes. It's working, General Day said quietly. The viral code is disrupting their chain of command. Inside the Vex flagship, Captain Moon and her team worked quickly to secure the communication hub. Most of the Vex operators had fled when their systems began failing, making the team's job easier than expected. Upload complete, said one of the technicians. The code is spreading through their entire network. But their mission wasn't over. Captain Moon moved to the main broadcast station, a circular platform designed to transmit the Supreme Commander's orders to all Vex forces. Begin the transmission, she ordered. The alien technician activated the system, and Captain Moon stepped onto the platform. Her image would now be seen by every Vex in the fleet, and beyond, to Vex on conquered worlds throughout their empire. Attention all Vex, she said. I am Captain Moon of Earth. For generations, your leaders have told you that intelligent life naturally surrenders to superior force. They've told you that resistance is unnatural, a sign of genetic inferiority. She paused, then continued. They lied. Surrender is not natural. Freedom is worth fighting for. Humans refuse to submit, not because we are inferior, but because we value liberty above mere survival. She activated a second part of the transmission, images of the resistance across 8 worlds, beings of all species standing together against Vex rule. Look at what is happening across your empire. It's not just humans anymore. Every species you've conquered is learning the same truth. Together, we can be free. In the command center, General Day watched as the Vex fleet fell into greater disarray. Some ships began to turn on each other, firing weapons at their own kind. What's happening? He asked Scientist Wu. She studied the data pouring in from their sensors. The viral code didn't just disrupt their communications, it's revealing information that was hidden from most Vex. They're learning that their entire society is built on lies. A civil war? General Day asked. More like an awakening? Scientist Wu replied. Many Vex have been biological tools following orders without question. Now they're beginning to think for themselves. 3 days later, a single Vex ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. It carried the Supreme Commander and what remained of the Vex leadership. In a field outside New Seoul, General Day stood waiting. Behind him were representatives from all 8 worlds of the Resistance. The Supreme Commander emerged from the ship. It was taller than a human, with an exoskeleton that shimmered with internal light. For the first time, a Vex leader stood on Earth soil not as a conqueror, but as someone seeking terms. Your resistance was unexpected, the Supreme Commander said. Its voice was different from before, less mechanical, more alive. Freedom often is, General Day replied. What do you want? Many of my people have chosen to abandon our conquest doctrine. They see now that it was built on false assumptions about the nature of intelligence. Others still believe in the old ways. We are divided. General Day nodded. And you? What do you believe? The Supreme Commander was silent for a long moment. I believe we have much to learn from species who value freedom enough to die for it. Then perhaps we can find a way forward, General Day said, not as conquerors and subjects, but as equals. Above them, the purple sky was clearing as Vex ships began to withdraw from Earth orbit. Not in defeat, but in recognition of a new reality. The war wasn't over. There would be conflicts ahead as the galaxy adjusted to this new balance of power. But something fundamental had changed. A species that refused to surrender had taught the stars that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the odds, and that lesson would echo across the universe forever.